They say, an itch is just an itch. Well, that's like saying a cough is just noise or forgetting your keys is just aging. Welcome, beautiful soul, to Buddhist wisdom for the elderly, where we know better. Around here, every twinge, twitch, and tickle is a telegram from the universe. Your back itches? That might be your liver whispering, "Help me out, friend." Your legs? Circulation waving a flag. And part 3, don't you dare miss that one. It's about your ears. Not the waxy part, but the soulful silence you've been craving while the world won't stop yelling. That little itch in your ear canal? It might be your spirit saying, "Turn down the noise. I'm trying to meditate over here." Buddhism teaches us that the body is a temple, but sometimes even temples have cobwebs and creaky floorboards. We don't panic, we pay attention. With love, with humor, with curiosity. So stay a while. This video might just help you turn those itches into insights. And if your heart feels even a little lighter after this, click like, subscribe, and help us reach our first 1,000 awakened elders. Now take a breath. Let's begin this sacred scratching session. Part 1. The itchy back and the burden you can't quite reach. The middle of the back. That sacred, unreachable land where itchiness goes to hide and thrive. You know the spot. You twist like a yogi, hunt for a ruler, maybe even ask your partner to scratch it with the desperation of a man begging for water in the desert. But what if that itch isn't just a cosmic prank from your spinal column? What if it's not your bath towel or your old cotton shirt? What if it's your liver trying to whisper through the skin? Or your kidneys murmuring from behind your ribs, "Hey, we're working overtime down here." See, we often think of the skin as the end of the line, the last stop on the subway of bodily awareness. But really, it's more like the body's billboard. And sometimes the messages on it aren't about moisturizers, they're about what's bubbling beneath the surface. Your liver and kidneys, those two unsung heroes tucked inside like introverted roommates, are responsible for filtering the messes we make. Wine on weekends, medications we don't question, processed food we eat because it's easier than chopping kale. When they start to slow down, they don't call a meeting, they send you an itch, often right between the shoulder blades. Let me introduce you to Janice. Now, Janice was 76 and still sharper than a new sewing needle. But lately, she'd been feeling off, just a little puffier in the ankles, a little more tired after lunch. But the thing that really got her was this nagging itch right in the middle of her back, like a mosquito with a grudge. She changed detergents, bought fancy lotions that smelled like a lavender field in Paris, even tried a jade roller her niece swore by. Nothing helped. But then, her doctor ran some tests. And guess what? Her kidney function was lagging, not failing, not collapsing, just waving a little yellow flag. See, the blood carries all the messages. And when your inner filters aren't pulling toxins out efficiently, they start leaking into places they shouldn't, like your skin, especially in nerve-rich areas like the back. The body says, "Excuse me, can someone pay attention up there?" Now, if we float over to the Buddhist view for a moment, the middle back is also where many traditions believe we store our unprocessed stuff. Not just toxins, but emotional weight, regret, guilt, resentment. You ever notice how burdens always show up between the shoulder blades? That itch might not just be about your liver, it might be about the apology you haven't made, or the anger you haven't released. And let's not forget this. Aging is not a disease, it's a curriculum. Your body is teaching you how to listen again, not to podcasts or pundits, but to your inner world. It whispers through sensations, dreams, aches, and yes, itches. That's why spiritual elders across cultures taught the importance of stillness, not because it's romantic, but because the soul can't speak over the noise. So what can you do if your back won't stop itching? Get your liver and kidney function checked. A simple blood test can uncover 1,000 secrets. Drink water like you're watering a beloved houseplant. Eat food that grew in the ground, not in a lab. Cut back on processed snacks and try actual vegetables. Yes, even the weird ones. Consider forgiveness. For someone else, or maybe even for yourself. Janice, she made a few changes. More water, fewer salty snacks, and a little journaling before bed. That itch still shows up sometimes. But now she takes it as a reminder to slow down, to breathe, to let go. So next time your back starts to itch in that unreachable place, don't just curse your arms for being too short. Smile, say thank you, and ask, what are you trying to show me, old friend? Because the body may wrinkle, sag, and stretch in funny ways, but it never lies. It's still your greatest teacher. Part 2. When your legs start itching, maybe the universe is trying to say, move it, Grandpa. Ah, yes, the mystery of the itchy shin. That slow creeping sensation on your lower legs. No rash, no bug bite, just that mischievous little tingle saying, hey buddy, scratch me, to the left. No, your other left. You know the one. Now, here's the cosmic joke. You think it's about dry skin. You slather on some lotion, maybe switch detergents, and go about your business. But that itch? It's not just a skin thing. It's your body whispering through your socks. Something's stuck down here, and it ain't just your circulation. See, by the time you've been around the sun 60 or 70 times, the body starts playing a subtler game. It stops screaming and starts whispering. The blood that used to run freely down to your feet now moves more like molasses on a cold Vermont morning. And that little itch on your shin? That's your bloodstream waving a flag, saying, hello up there. We need a little help. There's actually a fancy name for this, peripheral artery disease. Doctors call it PAD. I call it, please acknowledge the discomfort. Because really, it's your heart saying, hey, I'm doing my best here, but you sitting on that recliner for 14 hours isn't helping. Let me tell you about a fella I once met named Gerald. Retired postman, used to walk 10 miles a day, delivering mail with a smile. After retirement, he mostly delivered himself to the couch. Then one day, his legs started itching like they were trying to send Morse code. He tried creams, changed his socks, even blamed his cat. But finally, a nurse, bless her heart, suggested he stop treating his body like an old coat in the closet and take it out for a stroll. Turns out Gerald had PAD, but because he caught it early, he swapped his couch for short walks, got himself some snazzy compression socks, and the itch? Gone. Circulation? Back online. Gerald? Still grumbling about the cat, but walking like a man reborn. Now let me slide in the Buddhist bit, because you know I can't help myself. In Buddhist teachings, they say the body is a temple. But you and I both know that by 70, it's more like a temple that's been through a few earthquakes and now has a leaky roof. Still sacred, though. Very sacred. Especially when it itches. The Buddha didn't say much about leg itches, but he did talk a lot about suffering being a signpost, not a punishment. That itch on your shin? That's not karma being cruel. That's the universe saying, friend, you've been sitting too long. Time to stretch those legs and let the rivers flow again. See, your legs, they're like two wise elders carrying the weight of your life. When the blood doesn't reach them well, they get cranky. Like old monks who haven't had tea yet. They grumble with dryness, tingle with irritation, and yes, they itch. But they're not mad at you. They just want a little attention. So what can you do? Move your body like it's still got a story to tell. Walk, wiggle, dance in your kitchen while the kettle boils. Elevate your legs like you're the Dalai Lama on vacation. Drink water like you're a thirsty sunflower. Eat something green once in a while, not a mint chip milkshake. And wear those compression socks like you're starting a fashion trend. Because here's the punchline. When your legs itch, it's not just a call for scratching, it's a call for presence. A chance to tune in, to come home, to remember that your body, however wrinkly or wobbly, is still on your side. So the next time your calf gives you that gentle nudge, don't just slather on the ointment and curse the cat. Pause. Breathe. Say, thanks for the reminder, old friend. Let's go for a walk. And who knows, maybe that itch is the beginning of a beautiful new pilgrimage, one slow step at a time. Part 3. When your ears itch, maybe the world's just too loud and your soul's asking for silence. Ah, the ears. Those delicate little satellite dishes on either side of your head, tuned into the sweet symphony of life. Or, depending on the day, the lawnmower, the talk radio, or your neighbor's yappy dog. And then, one day, they start to itch. Not like an infection. Not like wax buildup. Just a subtle, annoying little tickle in your ear canal. You scratch gently with a finger or the end of your glasses, hoping no one notices. You think, is this just one more thing getting older has gifted me, along with creaky knees and unsolicited advice? But what if that itch wasn't just about dry skin or ear hair? What if your ears were begging you for something they haven't had in years? Silence. Let me explain. As we age, our hearing doesn't just fade. It changes. The brain, in its noble effort to keep up, starts to work harder to make sense of sound. Ordinary noise becomes more tiring. Background chatter starts to feel like static. Even music, once soothing, can start to feel like too much. That inner calm you once felt on a quiet porch, it's now hijacked by a world that doesn't know how to hush. And when the nervous system gets overloaded, especially in older adults, it sends signals in subtle ways. Tingling, twitching, and yes, itching. Especially in the ears, where sensory nerves and emotional tension often cross paths. Science calls this somatosensory dysregulation. I call it your body saying, "Can we please turn the volume down?" Now let's float over to the Buddhist lens for a moment. In many traditions, the ears are considered sacred. In Zen, there's a saying, "Only in silence can you hear the true teaching." Monks would sit for hours in absolute stillness, not to escape the world, but to hear what lives beneath it. But modern life? Oh, it's a carnival. News blaring, commercials shouting, phones pinging like needy children. And for the elder ear, wiser, thinner-skinned, and more spiritually sensitive, it's just too much. So the ears start to itch. Not because they're dirty, but because they're hungry for quiet. Not just quiet outside, but within. Let me tell you about Peter. Peter's 82, sharp as ever, but always complaining about that blasted ringing and this weird tickle in his ears, especially in the afternoons. He had them checked. No infection, no wax problem, just irritation. Then one day, a neighbor invited him to a silent meditation session at the local community center. Peter said, "Why would I sit in silence when I've got a perfectly good TV?" But he went. And something funny happened. In that stillness, without noise, without needing to respond, without being talked at, his whole body relaxed. And that itch in his ear, it was gone. Like it had just been waiting for an off switch. Peter started practicing daily silence. 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes before bed. And now, when his ears start itching, he doesn't scratch, he listens. Not to the noise of the world, but to the sound of his own breath, his own presence. So if your ears have been itchy lately, maybe ask, when was the last time I truly sat in silence? Not boredom, not loneliness, but real, open silence, the kind that holds you like a cradle. Here's your prescription, not from a doctor, but from a friendly old mystic. Turn off the TV for 1 full hour a day. Sit in a quiet room and just listen. To the hum of your breath, the rustle of your thoughts. Try 5 minutes of meditation. No chanting, no incense, just be. Limit noisy environments. Let your ears rest like tired feet. And remember, this isn't about fixing your ears, it's about honoring them. Your ears have heard your whole life, your mother's voice, your favorite song, your own laughter. Now, in this sacred chapter, they just want to rest. To be treated not like parts of a machine, but like the gateways to the sacred. Because sometimes when your ears itch, it's not an irritation, it's an invitation. To come home to stillness, to be here, to listen, really listen, not to the world, but to yourself. Part 4. When your belly itches, it might just be a spiritual hunger in disguise. So you've got an itch across your chest, maybe a little tickle over the belly, no rash, no redness, Just an odd little sensation that keeps coming back, especially in the evenings. You scratch it, sigh, maybe mumble something about aging skin, and move on. But what if that itch isn't just skin deep? What if it's not your body being fussy, but wise? See, the belly isn't just a soft cushion for holiday meals and grandkids' naps. It's a spiritual dashboard, a place where the gut, heart, and brain all meet in a kind of quiet council. And when your torso starts itching, especially without any visible irritation, it might be trying to tell you softly but persistently, "I'm running low." Now let me tell you about Elaine. Elaine's 81, lively as ever in conversation, but lately, food just doesn't excite her. Breakfast? Lunch? Maybe a couple of crackers? Dinner? A can of soup if she remembers? She says she's just not that hungry anymore. But what she has noticed is this constant itching across her chest and belly, especially at night when the world quiets down and there's nothing left to distract her. She figures it's the body wash, or maybe the polyester in her favorite nightgown. But deep down, her body isn't allergic to soap, it's starving for nourishment. As we age, the digestive system slows down. We don't absorb nutrients the way we used to. That B12, magnesium, zinc, those good fats, they get trickier to hold on to. And when your body runs low on the essential ingredients for vitality, it gets clever. It doesn't always shout, it itches. But here's the subtle joke the universe loves to play. We think of nutrition as fuel for the body, but it's also food for the mind and spirit. You don't just eat to stay alive. You eat to stay connected, to the seasons, to the soil, to joy. In Buddhist psychology, the belly represents the hara, your center of gravity, your spiritual home base. And when there's a disturbance there, it often reflects a disconnect between body and being. We get so busy worrying about our pills, our blood pressure, our family dramas, that we forget to feed the very vessel carrying us through all of it. Now don't worry, I'm not here to tell you to go vegan or drink kale smoothies at 6 a.m. But I will tell you this, your body right now is asking for more than just calories. It's asking for care. You don't need a nutritionist or a 27-step diet plan. Just listen a little more deeply. Add color to your plate. A handful of berries, a slice of avocado, even a piece of dark chocolate that doesn't taste like cardboard. Bring ritual back to your meals. Light a candle, say thank you, chew like your food has a soul. Eat something with love in it. That might be grandma's soup or your own baked sweet potato, warm and simple. Take a quality multivitamin if food's not cutting it. And perhaps most importantly, ask yourself if you've been nourishing your joy. Because often the body starts to itch when the soul hasn't laughed in a while. Elaine? She started small. A boiled egg in the morning. A banana with a little peanut butter in the afternoon. And here's the funny part. Once she started feeding her belly, she started feeding her spirit. She began painting again. Started calling her sister more. That itch, it faded, like a cloud moving off the sun. And that's the quiet teaching. When your chest and belly itch, maybe it's not dryness. Maybe it's a longing, a whisper, a sacred hunger. Because aging, my friend, doesn't mean fading. It means refining. Becoming so present with your body that you don't just survive the years, you savor them. So if your belly's been bothering you lately, don't just scratch and grumble. Take a breath, thank your body, and ask, what is it I've been truly hungry for? You might find the answer has less to do with food and more to do with love. Part 5. When nothing's there but it still itches. Maybe it's just old grief, knocking on the door. So you've got an itch, but not just any itch. This one's weird. It shows up randomly. Maybe it flits across your back like a passing breeze. Maybe it dances on your arms or legs at night when the world gets quiet. You scratch, look around, check for a rash, and nothing. You tell yourself it's dry skin. Then hormones. Then maybe it's that polyester blanket your daughter gave you last Christmas. But deep down, a quiet part of you wonders, why does this keep happening when I'm still? Let me tell you something the doctors don't always say out loud. Sometimes, when there's no rash, no irritation, and no apparent reason, the itch isn't coming from the skin at all. It's coming from your soul. We call it phantom itch, and medicine will shrug and say idiopathic pruritus, which is just Greek for we don't know what the heck is going on. But if you've lived long enough, you start to notice these little mysteries, like how your body becomes a map, not just of time, but of emotion, of loss, of memories you never really cried about. Grief, you see, is sneaky. It doesn't always wear black or show up at funerals. Sometimes it curls up quietly in your nervous system, sits in your tissues like an old tenant who never quite moved out. And when life finally slows down, when the kids are grown, the house is quiet, and there's nothing left on your calendar, grief starts scratching at the door. Not to hurt you, but to be seen. This is especially true as we grow older. We lose more than just strength. We lose roles, routines, even identities we didn't know we were attached to. Parent, partner, provider, problem solver. Now what? And that's when the phantom itch begins. A little reminder, hey, there are still things you haven't fully let go of. I once sat with a woman in her late 80s. We'll call her Ruth. She was sharp, kind, and kept a bowl of hard candies on the table like any good grandma. But she had this unrelenting itch across her arms. It wasn't visible. The doctors had no answers. Lotions didn't help. But when she finally opened up, she talked about the baby she lost in her 20s and never spoke of again. The husband who died 10 years ago after 60 years of marriage. The silence between her and her only son. And then she said something I'll never forget. Sometimes I think my skin remembers the things I tried to forget. The Buddhist teachings tell us that we carry samskaras, deep impressions left by our experiences, especially the ones we didn't fully feel. These are the little knots in the fabric of our being. And if they go unresolved, they start to surface, not just in dreams or moods, but in the body, in the itch that has no name. So if this is you, if you've got that itch that floats around like a ghost, maybe don't rush to treat it like a problem. Try listening to it like an old friend who finally got brave enough to speak. Here's what you can do. Write a letter to someone you lost. Not for them, for you. Sit in quiet with a photo that brings up emotion. Let the tears come, or the laughter, or both. Place your hand gently on the part of your body that itches most often, and say, I'm listening. Remember, emotions unspoken will find another way out, and often that way is the skin. Ruth? She started writing a little every morning, just a few lines to people she'd loved. Some gone, some distant. She didn't send them. She didn't need to. Within weeks, she told me the itch wasn't gone, but it had softened. It wasn't screaming anymore, just humming gently. Because once you name grief, it stops haunting you. It sits down beside you and says, thank you. I just wanted to be felt. So the next time you feel that inexplicable itch, pause before the cream. Ask yourself, is there something inside me still waiting for goodbye or for forgiveness? You don't have to have the answers. You just have to be willing to listen. Part 6. When your head itches, maybe it's just your mind, asking for a little mercy. The itchy scalp. That sneaky little tickle that shows up like a persistent house guest just as you're trying to relax. Maybe it starts at the crown, dances behind the ears, or sneaks down to the back of the neck. No rash, no flakes, just itchy. Now let's be honest. Most of us over 60 have blamed this on shampoo, water quality, or maybe that one grandchild with sticky fingers. We swap brands, toss the old pillowcase, maybe even buy some herbal rinse that smells like a forest. But nothing seems to help. Because, my dear friend, this isn't just about hair follicles. It's about what's going on under the hood. See, the scalp and neck are prime real estate for nerves. The central nervous system has a condo complex up there. So when life builds up, when stress, worry, and a backlog of uncried tears start to collect, it shows up where your mind lives, the head. Now meet Ray. Ray is 78. Grew up in a time when men didn't talk about their feelings. They just mowed the lawn, drank their coffee, and quietly carried the weight of the world in their shoulders. Retirement was supposed to be his golden age, but instead of peace, Ray found stillness. And in that stillness, restlessness. He started scratching his head. At first it was subtle, just a little during the nightly news. Then during breakfast, then in the middle of the night, he changed shampoos, bought silk pillowcases, nothing. The itch had nothing to do with soap. It had everything to do with suppressed energy. See, the nervous system is like a group of monks sitting in meditation. When life gets noisy, bills, health scares, regret, politics, they flinch. They don't scream. They whisper through the nerves, through little zaps, tingling, and yes, itchiness. And if we peek through the Buddhist lens for a moment, we're reminded of the principle of dukkha, or suffering. Not the dramatic kind, the low, constant, buzzing kind. The kind you live with because you've grown too used to carrying it. When your nervous system is fried and your mind is tight like an overwound watch, the body will start tossing pebbles at your attention. Hey, be here. Stop spinning. That's what was happening to Ray. He wasn't allergic to anything, except silence, stillness, and the discomfort of finally feeling what he'd pushed aside for decades. But here's the good news. You don't need a monastery or a magic cure. Just small rituals. Because healing the nervous system isn't about fixing, it's about soothing. It's like rocking a baby that lives inside your brain. Try this. Take 10 minutes to breathe each morning before the noise of the world kicks in. Sit by a tree. Yes, seriously. Trees have better Wi-Fi than your phone. Call someone you miss, not to fix anything, just to say, I'm here. Stop watching the news before bed. Your nervous system can't digest it that late at night. Write down one thing a day you're grateful for, even if it's just your cat ignoring you. Ray started doing just that. He began walking every morning, left his phone at home, reconnected with an old friend he hadn't talked to in 10 years because of a disagreement they couldn't even remember. And slowly, the itch faded. Not overnight, but as his inner world softened, so did his scalp. And that, my friend, is the quiet miracle of aging. The body starts telling the truth when the mind gets too busy. It taps on your head, whispers down your neck, and says, it's time to come home to yourself. So if your scalp is singing, don't just buy a new conditioner. Ask yourself, have I been carrying too much? Have I forgotten how to rest? Because sometimes the itch is just your soul scratching at the door. So, what started as a little itch, huh? A harmless tingle here, a scratch there, and look where it's led us. We've wandered through your lower legs, where poor circulation might be your heart whispering for movement. We reached up to your back, where your kidneys and liver could be signaling overload. We touched your scalp, where stress might be buzzing like static in the nerves. We honored the belly, that sacred center, craving real nourishment, not just food, but purpose. Then we listened closely to phantom itches, those whispers of old grief. And finally, we returned to the ears, where silence itself waits patiently behind the noise of modern life. These weren't just body parts, they were messages, lessons, invitations. Now, if any of this stirred something in you, even just a gentle, that's a sign you're still growing, still listening. And if you're still listening, we're still talking. So leave us a comment. What part spoke to you? What itch made sense now? And if you'd like more videos like this, equal parts soul, science, and storytelling, just tap like, subscribe, and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Not for ego, but so we can keep showing up for you. Gently, honestly, itch by itch. Until next time, dear one, stay tender with your body. It's still teaching you.